The Ducks might not win again the rest of this season. Are you kidding me? Getting shut out again by the Minnesota Wild? I mean, this will drive anybody crazy. How can they get shut out again?
You're Locked On Ducks, your daily podcast on the Anaheim Ducks, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Shut out again, folks. Welcome to Locked On Anaheim Ducks, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, or TLOPN. I'm your host, Jason JD Hernandez. I've been covering hockey for over a decade. Not often have I covered a team this bad, but we're going to just move on with it. Today's episode is brought to you by Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, use code LOCKEDON for $20 off your first purchase. Let's get right into it. Must we get into it? Yes. Yes, folks, we're going to. Before we get started, the mailbag is open, so get those emailed questions in. LockedOnAnaheimDucks@gmail.com. I'll put a post out on Twitter X, but if you want to send me your questions, LockedOnAnaheimDucks@gmail.com. All right, so the Ducks apparently can't score anymore. They can't win anymore. They can't stay disciplined. What the hell? Well, I'm going to try to go one at a time here based on what I put on, that thing right there. Yeah, I can't even point right. That's how mad I am. I'm just like, whatever. Yeah. First bullet point. Ducks can't score. Well, no crap, Sherlock. Of course they can't score. When you're missing some quality offensive players, then scoring is going to come at much more of a premium than it should. It shouldn't be at this much of a premium, but it is. The Ducks, the last few games, have scored not a lot of goals. They've been shut out not once, not twice, but thrice in about the past fortnight. Yeah, the past fortnight, they've been shut out. Even the last week, they've been shut out 3 times, twice by the Minnesota Wild, who are fighting for a playoff spot, by the way. So I will give my kudos, because I'm going to. I'll give my kudos to the Minnesota Wild because, they're actually playing well. They're actually playing desperate. They're actually playing for a purpose. They're playing for something. Imagine a Ducks team actually playing for something. They have not done this in years. They have not done this since I have started this podcast, Locked On Anaheim Ducks. It has been that kind of run ever since the run of before Dallas Eakins was a coach. When they hired Dallas Eakins, I thought, there's some glimmer of hope. How wrong I was. And I said there was glimmer of hope with Greg Cronin being the coach. I hope I'm not wrong on this one, but Greg Cronin has done a good job. It's been the last 6 years. It has been bad, folks. When you talk about a team that just cannot score, look at the special teams. The power play. The power play has been not even abysmal. It's worse than abysmal, especially over the past week. Let's go over the last week's scores, shall we? Well, let's do that. Okay. Last Tuesday, they got, just curb stomped, or in the words of my upcoming guest, crumple dusted 7-2 by the Chicago Blackhawks. Yeah, 7-2. Then they got curb stomped and crumple dusted by the Minnesota Wild 2-0. Oh, but it got worse. It got so much worse. They got shut out the following night 6-0. They weren't even 6 to their stomach. They couldn't even stomach a goal. It was 6-0 to Winnipeg. Oh, hey, let's get 2 goals against St. Louis. Let's lighten the burden of getting mathematically eliminated for the 6th consecutive year. I hate making that annual tweet every year. Now, y'all were lucky. Last podcast, I gave myself a day. I was calm and said, okay, it can't be any worse. They're mathematically out. I'm used to it. But after this one, this was just stupid. This was very stupid, which gets to my next bullet point, comme ça. They can't win. 7 consecutive losses. Now, if the Ducks may as well not win, they may as well go for the tank. They may as well try to get that first pick and, knowing the Ducks' luck, of course they're going to lose that pick because that's what it's like being a Ducks fan. That's what it's like following this team. It is like the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim. No, screw it. I'm not going to call them the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim. I hate it. They're the freaking Anaheim Angels. They play in Anaheim. They're the Anaheim Angels. It is like the Angels used to have as their 7th inning stretch song. Remember, they used to have Buttercup. Why do you build me up, Buttercup, baby? Just to let me down. What, did the Ducks adopt that song now? Is that going to be their new goal song? We haven't heard their goal song because they can't freaking score. This team is like Buttercup. It really is. Over the past few seasons, any glimmer of hope that the Ducks may have just gets evaporated like that. It's like clockwork with this team. They can't score. I mean, even straight, they have a better chance of scoring. But special teams, forget it. I will say at least they only allowed 1 power play goal on this one. Only 1. Hallelujah. It beats 3 power play goals the other night. It beats that at least. At least the penalty kill was somewhat competent. Can I even say that? Can I lie? No. I cannot lie to you folks listening or watching. I just can't. But I'm not going to complete that thought. I'm not going to complete that thought because I know how bad it's going to be. Which leads to my last bullet point. Combs up. I can't point. The other way. There. No, can't do it. There it is. They can't stay disciplined. I am going to address it. The hit that Alex Killorn made, that was a bad hit. That was a pointless hit. He did not need to injure a guy. He didn't. I mean, I'll call a spade a spade. Maybe there are some fans that hate me being too honest, and I know you're out there. I know some of you saying like, "Oh, you're, siding with the other team." No, I'm not. I'm calling it like it is. It was a bad hit. It's a play that didn't need to happen, and unfortunately for the Wild, they lost one of their better players. And we'll hear more about that when Seth comes on. But it's been like that all year long. Bad hits, especially lately. Bad penalties, especially lately. Did the Ducks really have to give Minnesota five power play chances for Minnesota? Really? And a couple of those penalties, they did not. I mean, can you tell, folks? Can you tell that I need a hug or something? Or maybe some food. I have food right here. This is off camera, but I have candy right here. I have cookies. I'm literally going to eat this entire bag of Knott's Boysenberry cookies because Orange County, Knott's Berry Farm makes delicious cookies, and it's Boysenberry Festival. Oh yeah, for those of you that don't feel like going to Disneyland, yeah, Knott's Berry Farm, Boysenberry cookies, that's where it's at. That's your comfort food, Ducks fans, is those freaking cookies that are delicious. Or Girl Scout cookies. There's that too. I haven't even dug into my Thin Mints yet, by the way. What am I talking about? I don't even know. That's how bad this team is. Stop committing penalties. Stop making stupid plays. Stop making dumb hits. That's all I'm asking. Just the minimum. All right. I'm going to head into the break and try to compose myself. I think Seth is going to help me. He's going to act as the therapist when he comes on because I think I'm going to need it, folks. Trust me, I will. So you won't want to miss this. We'll bring Seth on the other side. Now a brief word from eBay Motors. And folks, I'm just, it's eBay Motors. I mean, passion, drive, patience underlined. You need a lot of patience. That's what brings home the winning trophy and what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. Peak performance, right. From superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, unlike the Ducks, eBay Motors has got you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to turn your car into the MVP and bring home what Ducks fans haven't seen in a while, a win. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only, exclusions apply. eBay guaranteed fit only available to U.S. customers. Well, it was a segment, wasn't it? Thank God I'm not alone on this one because I've got a special guest who's going to help me out here and try to calm me down. Seth Toupal from Locked On Wild. Let's bring him on. Seth, first off, how you doing?
Well, I am crossing my fingers for some good news on Jonas Brodin, but also, on the front end of a back-to-back, that's about what you're looking for. If you're the Minnesota Wild, is you get the goal to start the scoring pretty quickly into the second period, and from that point on, it was pretty much. It was like when, for those that watch Arrested Development, it was when Jason Bateman's character opens the fridge with the dead dove in the paper bag, and it says dead dove on the bag, and he looks in there and he says, well, I don't know what I expected.
I knew it was going to happen. I knew they'd lose. Maybe not in that fashion, but I knew they'd lose. So that's where we are. Can we talk about this game really quick? And then I'll get to Brodin in a second. The first period, I mean, the Ducks looked somewhat competent, question mark, kind of, sort of. I mean, and Minnesota, they looked like a team that was not quite out to the races yet. What was going on that first period?
I use the analogy of playing with your food as a Wild team, and it's something that they've done quite a bit this season. Is you just kind of toy around. There was definitely more of a back and forth in that first period between the two teams, and credit to Philip Gustafsson, he has been an adventure this season for keeping it scoreless. There were some decent opportunities for the Ducks in that first period, and so
one from Leo Carlson.
Yeah, he did a good job. Gus did of keeping them off the board, but it just, I think, and you and I talked about this on the Locked On Wild postcast, is whether it was just kind of refocusing in during the first intermission. It looked like a completely different team out there once period 2 started, and at that point it was just off to the races.
I'm gonna come out and say it. I think your coach lit a fire under their keisters.
Yeah,
on that second period, because Minnesota all of a sudden just came out guns a-blazing, just bang bang, 2 quick goals in 2 minutes. As soon as they scored those 2, I actually said, like, oh, it's over. I actually said, like, that's it. 2 goals. That's all they need. That's all they would have needed, if not for scoring a couple more. But just those first 2 goals really quickly had that one. Pretty nice kind of tap in from Ryan Hartman. Kind of look. I mean, the Ducks just did not look ready for that first goal at all. And then the second one, I'll give credit. John Merrill, that was a good shot. I heard that loud ping and in. I'll admit, good shot. Picked the perfect spot for that goal. So, yeah, I'm giving credit.
And Wild fans kind of got excited because Murat Huznadinov was in front of John Gibson. He was the net front player in that on that shift. And so we were kind of hoping, hey, did Murat pick up his first goal off a deflection here? That was a good job by Merrill to just get. There was no way Gibson was going to be able to get to that puck. It was just too far outside. too high up. That's one of those just eagle eye type goals where it gets that upper corner when you kind of got the goalie pulled to one side, and so that was for as much of an adventure as John Merrill has been this season. That was pretty expertly placed.
But he did get his first point.
Yes,
on that play. So there's the silver line. So congrats on getting his first point. There's that. Right?
Yeah. He's on pace for however many assists that would be through his first 3 games, and another solid one for Huznadinov in this game. He went 6 of 9 in the face-off circle again. Played right around 13 minutes, couple hits, couple shots, and an assist. All in all, a pretty solid day's work.
And then the Ducks doing what they do and stinking up on the penalty kill. And Kaprizov, look, the Ducks defense, was it just me, or did the Ducks defense just kind of stop playing hockey?
Yeah.
Sorry, they stopped like I just did.
They freeze framed. It was one of those things you see with teams like the Ducks a lot. And, Chicago does the same thing. Columbus does the same thing. San Jose does the same thing.
San Jose does it a lot.
It's you fall behind by more than one goal. And it's just with where you're at in the season, it's just kind of that collective, okay, this is how this is going to go.
Yeah, I mean, the Ducks know they're out of it. They know what's at stake right now, and it's a draft pick.
Yeah,
they know they're slacking for Macklin is what they're doing right now.
As long as I'm not the one simming the tankathon.
Yeah, please do not. I'm not going to put any blame on you. I'm going to take you off of that blame. The fourth goal after that, just one of those plays off of face-off. Lucchini, good shot. At that point in the game, it's like, okay, 3-0, 4-0. What difference does it make? It didn't matter, did it?
No. It's like when, it's like a late bucket at the end of a basketball game, or a home run in the bottom of the 8th of a 3-0 game. It's just one of those. It's one of those that changes the score but doesn't change the outcome.
It's like watching a home run hit against a position player pitching.
Yeah, that's a much better example.
That's what it kind of felt like, especially that late in the game. So 4-0 was the final score. Hey, the Ducks got shut out by Minnesota again. Can't believe Fleury didn't start this game, but hey, he'll get his shot against the Kings.
Yeah, he's been on fresh off of getting named 3rd star of the week for the NHL. He's been on a nice little roll here for the last 2 months.
Hey, it's deserved. He's looked good. Mm-hmm. He has. And now he has a chance to bring the Wild to within 1, but we'll get to that a little bit later. I do want to talk about the hit, which is unfortunate. Alex Killorn kind of driving him into the boards and then kind of tackling him down. And I did notice like a little bit of a buckle right there. What did you see on that play? Yeah,
it was just kind of an awkward, his leg landed underneath him. It's one of those hits that you don't really see clearly right off the bat, but you can just tell by the way that the player falls. You're like, yeah, that's not great. And it was weird too. It was just kind of a little battle along the boards, and then all of a sudden, like you blink and Brodin is on his back on the ice. Like what?
Well, I think what materialized is there was a battle along the boards, and then he kind of like gave an extra little hit. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if it was that hit that injured him or it was the takedown that injured him.
Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of hard to tell from that angle, but it is between that second point and that final drop, which leads me to think he may have been injured, right on that takedown. which did not need to happen. Like the first hit, like the initial hit, fine, like that's fine. But everything after that, I didn't like it. And I'll call a spade a spade. I mean, I'm sorry, Ducks fans, but I'll call it like it is. It wasn't a good play.
Well, and it's interesting too because we had the Marcus Johansson hits the last time these two teams played, and we talked about how, in that instance, it's just a hard hit that leads to, I think it was Radko Gudas that got injured on that play, but in that instance, you can tell like Johansson immediately like gives him kind of that side tap, like, hey, that. I didn't mean anything by it. It just kind of one of those things where two players get to the same spot at the wrong time, and you're skating on ice as hockey players. Not everything is going to go according to plan every time you're out there.
And I think the difference between that hit and this one was, at least on the Gudas hit, there was definitely some concern. And there was an apology like right there. Like he did not mean to do that. The reason the Killorn hit kind of pisses me off is because that one is out of pure frustration. He committed a turnover that led to a solid chance for Minnesota in that first period. Like he committed a bad turnover. And I think this was on Kaprizov's shot with, I want to say, 12 minutes left in the first, I think around that time.
Yeah.
And Killorn just had a bad turnover, and all of a sudden he's left behind, and Kaprizov gets an open shot. And Killorn just did not have a good game in general. And I hate that that's a possibility that's what could have happened. Is it was a frustration play. And that's not a good reason to go after someone.
Yeah, and I'm honestly I'm surprised, but then again, I don't know how the Wild players saw it, but that's the kind of thing where you feel like somebody on the Wild side drops the gloves and says like, let's go. So
yeah, it was a weird one. If you don't mind sticking around for another segment and play therapist, because I'm going to need it, because
let's do it.
Because Ducks. So what we're going to do is we're going to head to the second intermission here. We'll go into period 3 of this podcast and just shoot the breeze a little bit more and give some therapy. Stay locked in. Now a brief word from the Gametime app. And, folks could have gone to this game for free practically. I mean, tickets were as cheap as $20 all in for this last Ducks Wild game. If you could believe that, Seth. It was really cheap.
Wow.
And yeah, I mean, there was a lot of good last minute deals. You had those $20 all-in prices, great last minute deals. They had zone deals, flash deals, last minute tickets at good prices. And they had views from every seat in the venue. So those are pretty solid seats for about $25 all in. By the way, Gametime is the only ticketing app that gives you complete peace of mind with your purchase. And they give you the all-in prices up front, just 2 taps away. Tap, tap. There you go. You got your tickets. Just that easy, right? Oh, but Seth, did you know it gets better? Can I tell you more, Seth?
Go on.
They have a Gametime guarantee, which means if you find tickets in the same section and row for less, they'll credit you 110% of the difference. Pretty cool, right?
Very cool.
Yeah. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDON for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDON for $20 off. Download Gametime today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. All right, let's just keep going talking about this one. The hit was bad. The turnovers were bad. The special teams were bad. Help me out here. Please help me. The Minnesota Wild have had stretches of bad hockey, of very bad hockey a couple of times. How did you get through it?
the stretch, especially at the beginning of the season, the Wild started 5-14-1, I think it was. That's just awful. You lean on the young players. Like I was full in on how Brock Faber was doing, Marco Rossi. Now we get to the point in the season where we're seeing Murat Nadinov start to ease his way in. Loved what I saw from Leo Carlsson here tonight, so that's a good spot to start. And honestly, like it's interesting because since I've been a host of Locked On Wild, JD, it feels like the Ducks have been kind of stuck in neutral, and you just got to hope that one of those high picks is the one that kind of pulls you out of it.
That's got to be some kind of hope. I mean, hope springs eternal, but that's assuming they don't lose a spot or, heaven forbid they fall to 5th. Like, I do not want to see them fall that far. I think the Ducks have to pin their hopes a little bit on the health of the young players next season. They have to pin their hopes on, they are going to have to spend some money. I mean, based on all the players that are leaving, they are going to have to spend money to get up off from the cap floor. So at least we know there's that. I don't know what more hopes I could have. I mean, maybe give some of the vets less playing time because, frankly, and I hate to say it, some of the vets don't deserve all that playing time. Killorn has had a bad stretch. Cam Fowler has had an abysmal stretch. And this was pointed out, and I actually talked about this on a podcast 2 months ago now. We're on the Game Score website. Cam Fowler, at one point this season, had 4 of the 10 worst individual game scores in the entire season. I don't know if you saw, by the way, but the Sharks had a crappy game, like right at the same time, and 2 players in the same game had bad game scores to take out a couple of spots. And Henry Thrun, by the way, former Ducks prospect Henry Thrun now has the worst game score in all of hockey this season in one game with negative 8.86.
Oh,
his bar graph is so far to the left it breaks the graph. So not a good night for former Ducks prospects or Ducks young players. I mean, except for Leo Carlsson, who's been solid. But I also pinned my hopes on Pavel Mintyukov, who I've enjoyed watching a lot. I enjoy his hockey IQ and his skating ability. And that's something that you cannot teach.
Yeah.
So he is getting better in that regard. McTavish, still a very high quality player, still very talented. But McTavish has been hurt most of the season. Like he's out, he's in. He's out, he's in. I'm not even convinced that he's 100% right now. Like, I'm just not. Trevor Zegras, he's skating again. He's in a red no contact, but he's skating again. So there's some good news. But at this point, do we want to see Z come back, get hurt again? I don't. So I think the hope has to be for next season and hope that that top pick hits. That's what it's going to come down to. And really, it comes down to, can they get that number 1 pick?
Yeah.
I mean, you were rooting for the Ducks last season to get the number 1 pick. Well, mostly, I remember you were rooting for the Ducks because you didn't want a certain other team to get number 1. Is that correct?
That is very accurate. I did not want to see a particular player in the same division as the Minnesota Wild. Same conference I can tolerate. Same division? Please no. And what did we get? Connor Bedard is now going to terrorize.
Especially that team.
Yeah.
Especially that team.
It's the other part of it.
I mentioned this before. I'll say it again. 3-minute period. where everybody was rooting for the Ducks to win the draft lottery. Everybody. Like almost the entire internet, because it was down to the Blackhawks and the Ducks. So it was like, please let Anaheim win this. Like people wanted to see Bedard and Zegras and McTavish together. That would have been fun. Instead, you have Bedard out on an island in Chicago. If it wasn't for Bedard, the Blackhawks would have 25 points. They'd probably get the number 1 draft pick. But no, we have Bedard in Chicago, which we hate. Like, we really hate it. So, yeah, let's hope that the Ducks win the draft lottery this time. I'm going to put some hope on that first.
Yeah.
That's where my energy is going to start.
That's all you can do at this point in the season is just hope that one of the hockey gods is like, you know what? Let's throw the Ducks. Those uniforms that they have are sweet. Let's throw them a bone here.
Yeah, come on, Ghost of Gordie Howe. Come on, Ghost of Jean Beliveau. Like, help the Ducks out. Or insert other hockey player here that's in hockey heaven right now. Like, help out the Ducks, please.
Give us just this one.
Yeah. So, Ducks fans, do whatever you have to do. You know, pray to the hockey gods, light some candles, do whatever it is you have to do to bring that energy of the number 1 draft pick. It's therapy at this point. Anything else you think we can pin our hopes with now?
Those uniforms.
Those are 1 year only, though. I wish they were multiple years.
They should be.
They really should. They got to go back to that color scheme.
That, like, I just watching the game tonight when I tuned in, I was like, oh yes, they're using the good ones. And not to say that the others aren't good, but I was like,
you can say it.
This is art. Like,
you can say it.
This is art.
I've said it this season. You can say how bad those other jerseys are. Go ahead, Seth. No one's going to disagree with you.
The ones they wore tonight are the clear best that are in the arsenal this year. Clear cut best.
Yep, absolutely. Well, it is about that time. It is time to say goodbye. I'm going to try to end on a positive note here. Minnesota Wild, I'll give the credit where credit's due. They played a game. They needed to win. They're vying for a playoff spot. They've got a decent shot. I mean, they're not far behind Vegas. They're not far behind the Los Angeles Kings. They're playing the Kings next. They can win that game. I'm just saying. Minnesota maybe has a chance, right?
Telling me there's a chance.
There's a decent chance.
Yeah.
Look at Minnesota's schedule coming up. They've got some games against teams that are just ahead of them or right alongside them. Those are the games that are going to make or break it.
They also play Chicago a couple of times, San Jose still a couple of times.
All right. Can I give you my best case scenario for every one of those games?
Yes.
Best case scenario is that Minnesota beats Chicago in overtime and Minnesota beats San Jose in overtime.
Deal.
If we're going to help each other out, at least give San Jose and Chicago points. That way they could inch closer to the Ducks on that record.
I'm very okay with that.
Yeah, I'm fine with that. And hey, you did the Ducks a favor by not getting them any points. So, yeah, there's that.
We're doing our part.
Yep. Both teams are doing their parts to help each other out, I guess. There. Ended somewhat positive. All right. By the way, I'm going to do a mailbag. So in your best, just try to convince the Ducks fans or the Wild fans who might be watching, because I know there's a couple of Wild fans that are watching. I read the comments. I've got some of your fans watching over here. So try to convince some of the Wild fans to send mailbag questions. So do your best, Seth.
Ducks and Wild fans unite. The time is now to submit your questions for the Locked On Ducks mailbag. Whether it be from a Wild perspective, trying to come up with a trade to shake things up for both teams, or simply where things are headed for the Anaheim Ducks. I challenge all of you to send in your questions.
Yep. The email address is lockedonanaheimducks@gmail.com, or they can leave a comment or leave me a DM on Twitter, either at StimpyJD or at LO_Ducks. You could do that. And I'll put a post out tonight. I'll repost it. Drop your questions under there as well. So you got multiple options. Send your questions. Let's just go from there. And I will answer them. I'm going to record tomorrow. And the reason I'm saying get them in now is because I'll be recording not from here. I'm just saying I'm recording somewhere else tomorrow.
A special location.
A location I've been several times this season. They've seen it before. Some arena, some hockey team plays there. You know, some team that gets fired up.
A
Just
bird?
saying.
A particular bird?
A particular bird of a sort. Which, by the way, you need to visit next season for the All-Star game, Seth.
Yes. In.
Yep. You'll see the Iowa Wild All-Star on there. So that could be fun. That could be a fun time.
I like where your head is at. I like that idea.
Keep in mind, there is no NHL All-Star game next year. Therefore, we might get a few more folks to come down to Coachella Valley and enjoy nice weather.
Anything at that point in the winter is above what we have in Minnesota. So I'm in. I'm sold.
Yeah. Seth, thanks once again for joining in. And where can the folks find your work and all that jazz?
You can follow the wonderful escapades of Locked On Wild by searching Locked On Wilds on Google, on whichever internet search provider you typically use. Yes, you've got anything you can possibly think of, whether it be social media, YouTube. We just launched a Discord server, so I'm getting into that realm as well. So you can find all that info by searching Locked On Wild and come hang out and have fun.
You know, I thought about that last season, but last season's College Cup playoffs got way too busy to do anything of that sort. You could follow my work at StimpyJD. You could find me between the boxes doing public address at Acrisure Arena, home of the Coachella Valley Firebirds. And you could also email me, like I mentioned, LO_Ducks. And hey, it's also this podcast, by the way, also ad-free on Amazon, as are all the Locked On podcasts, and also subscribe to our YouTubes. So check that out. And once again, thank you, Seth, and thank you all for your continued support. It is so greatly appreciated. And we'll see you tomorrow for Goals Thursday, and then we'll see you afterwards for the mailbag episode. Yeah. Can't wait. Seth, thanks again, buddy. Really appreciate it.
My pleasure.
On behalf of Seth and myself for Locked On Wild and Locked On Anaheim Ducks, this is Jason JD Hernandez saying have a great rest of the day. Please remember to be safe out there. Please be kind to one another. Be kind to all the Ducks fans, folks, because they need it. We all need it. And Ducks sort of fly together. Not doing much flying these days.